Roy, how you doing, kid?
I am hanging in there, sir. We are going to get ready in a second. I'm
All
going to
right.
start this segment with a billboard. You guys ready in there?
Yeah, we've started already, and you should just get started with the billboard because I think Ernie's voice there just saying hello to you is something that's a good start that people will recognize. So go ahead and just read the billboard.
I will. This episode is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
He called him kid.
I know,
I
but,
mean-
I love that.
but we
EJ,
all had the
love
same
it.
reaction. Zaslow just whispered into my ear when he heard Ernie's voice. He said, "That made me happy."
It did.
And all of us had the
course.
same reaction. I wanted to have him on. He's never going to gloat because he's as egoless as they come in this particular business. But he's the one who told you these Pacers were going to be in this position, and there weren't a whole lot of people saying that. So, Ernie, thank you for joining us. But what do you make so far of the series, and what do you make of Stugotz's contention that the Knicks are the better team?
Boy, that's a lot to unpack. Good morning, guys. How are we doing? Everything good?
Yes, sir.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Better now.
Good morning, Ernie.
Yes, with your voice,
Yes.
and we get to cover sports for a living and have the same gratitude you do about that.
Yes. I mean, and I'm grateful that we've got this kind of a series as our NBA on TNT swan song. I'll tell you that. It's been fun every step of the way on this one, and I don't. I mean, I don't know, Stugotz, if New York's a better team. I mean, they were a whisper away from being down 3-0. So I think they're two very evenly matched teams, and every game's coming down to clutch time. 5 or less and 5 minutes to go, and so what more can you want? And so I've been enjoying this like crazy. I don't know what happened actually, but Dan, that day that you said, okay, if there is a dark horse, look, I'll admit, I did not come on your show last time and say, oh, by the way, the Indiana Pacers. You said, hey, if you had to pick a dark horse out of this bunch, and I said, hey, let's go Indiana. And now you've been texting me after every time they win with just one word, says Pacers with 2 exclamation points. And when I try to think of something witty to come back at you with, but it's been pretty amazing to watch.
That's so
this.
you right there. You got it totally right. And everyone in sports media except you would be taking a victory lap. You are sitting here saying, I didn't get it that right.
No, I didn't. I was pressed. And I've learned from talking to you that I better come up with an answer. And so it wasn't like I was going to say, oh, there are a lot of good teams. I couldn't possibly pick a dark horse, but I hit this one. Okay, I got this one right.
Ernie, the Knicks could easily be up 2-1. Plus, Dan has math friends, and they say that they should be up 2 games to 1.
That's it. Ernie, I will ask you this question as a basketball expert because I have talked to friends who know math, and they say if Haliburton took that shot 10,000 times and tried to get the ball to bounce that high and then land through the net that way without touching the rim, that he would be able to do that 0 out of the next 10,000 times. The ball bouncing over the shot clock and then swishing through the net.
It almost hit us. And we're and at the Garden, we are in the very rafters. I reached out and thought it was like a foul ball. And I said, hey, I'm going to get a souvenir. No, it was an amazing moment. Those things, we're just when they happen, you don't believe what you just saw. And so sure, I mean, the Knicks blew a huge lead in that game. Should have won it. Hey, game 3. Rick Carlisle has lost 3 games in his career when he had a 20-point lead at home. And so he's like 250-3 in that situation. So, I mean, when it gets to this point, you can always look and say, if we had done this and we had done this, we should be up 2-1. We should be up 3-0. That's part of playoff basketball. So, yeah, your friends who think the Knicks could be up 2-1, yeah, they're right. They really are. But you could also say, hey, you know what? Pacers should be up 3-0. So there you go.
Ernie, how big an adjustment do you think it is for Carlisle after losing Game 3 to bring back John Haliburton?
Desperate.
It's such a huge story. The fact that he will be in the arena. No, look. what I think, and Chuck brought it up the other night, and he talked about it. Said, "Hey, the guy's done his time. Let him, watch a home game." And I think being in his home arena and being somewhere not on the floor, that's fine. What he did was wrong. But I certainly wouldn't say, "Hey, let him go to the Garden too and watch from a courtside seat." No, that would not be a good idea. But I think being at home and where the Pacers take care of him and put him in a suite and let him watch his son play, I'm okay with that.
Ernie, how much of a punishment, though, is it that he's not allowed to sit courtside, but they're going to put him in a suite?
It's absolutely. That's very difficult. It's very difficult watching a game from a suite. No, but look, he missed the last round. Okay, he sat out the entire round when they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. Couldn't go to any games. So let's just move on. And that would be my stance.
Couple fist bumps from the Turner exec saying, "Man, thank God we got the East this year." Woo, that would have been rough to go to OKC.
No, this is, again, as I said when we came on, this is a great way for us to go out because it's been a time of like mixed emotions and so yeah, to have a series in which every game, and I said it at halftime of game one. I said, look, if we get 7 games like this would be tremendous. And now, and when you say that, you never think, oh yeah, well, we'll have a clunker here and there, but we haven't. And so it's been great. And I was actually happy to see a competitive game in that OKC series because that's been. I've been on that side before. We've had those where, you're doing the post-game show and it's like, okay, so why did they win by 25? And so, or why did they win by 42? What else do we want to talk about? Then you run out of things to say. But in this case, so much has happened in every game that our post-game show has been, dynamite. It's been, there's been so much to talk about and the guys are picking apart plays. That's what you love. So we don't root for anybody. We just want competitive, compelling games where we have a lot to talk about when the game's over.
Let me ask you this, though. When you say of this particular show, run out of things to say, I would have made the argument before right now that you guys are better when there isn't something to talk about than when there is, especially since I've seen the analysis of Shaq and Barkley skew older with the evolution of the game. Do you think I have that wrong?
No, I think the point that I'm making is that we have actual basketball to talk about, and maybe that disappoints the fan who's tuning in to see what these clowns are going to do tonight. But I'm saying from a basketball perspective, it gives us a lot to chew on. It talks, we're able to talk. What was his strategy here? Why did he do this? Why did they change the starting lineup? Why did the Pacers only have 2 fast break points in the second half after 14 in the first half? What did they do? And I think basketball-wise, in a playoff setting, it's great to have basketball to talk about rather than searching for something or hoping that somebody, does something silly that we just ride for a couple of seconds.
But you would say that if you could predict it, and I know that a lot of improv and ad lib goes on with live television.
If I could predict it like the Pacers.
Not that well. But if you could say before a show, I'm going to give you a lot to talk about, or I'm going to give this crew of people not a lot to talk about, which is likely to make the most entertaining show? Not informative or sports heavy to you, just more likely to produce an entertaining show. What would be your answer to that?
I think it would be a mix of the two, but because I think when it's the thing about doing these series is it's almost like you get a little repetitive from time to time, and it's like, okay, they still lead in points in the paint, and they still lead in fast break points, and these guys need to do a better job on the boards, and it can get a little repetitive. But I would agree with you that when you have to not create, but when you're kind of looking for something to say, let's spice things up a little bit, or let's get something for folks to laugh about. That the thing about our shows, you never know. I mean, it's so organic that you don't know if Shaq's going to come up with something that's so totally off the wall that we're just going to keep riding him. Or the other night when Chuck could not pronounce Nikhil Alexander Walker's name, and then Nikhil Alexander Walker gets asked about that in a media availability. So we love stuff like that, but we have to also keep in mind that we're here to break down playoff basketball. This is what we build all year toward. So the better the games are and the more hoop we can talk, the better.
Do you think that you will or won't be emotional the last broadcast?
I'm actually trying not to think about that because I think the potential is there. Because there have just been times this season where it hits you and you think about, wow, nobody's ever going to say the NBA on TNT again. And after 35 years of this relationship, having it end it does get emotional. And I think we're not going to be over the top, but we're certainly going to have some folks to thank. And I haven't really thought about what I'm going to say that last night. And so it's not like you want to prepare something. I think we'll all have something to say. But I think we also realize that for the four of us, it would really be weird, Dan, if this were the end of us together. And it's not going to be, because the show is going to continue just on another network, on an ABC, ESPN kind of combo. But it's and we're going to have the same folks we see, running camera and producing the show. That's going to be the same. It's just going to run at a different place. But if this were the end of the four of us together, then I'd want this series to go like 29 games.
You have said before that this is as close as you will ever come to having brothers, that you love these people for real, that it's not a throwaway line. And you've been very careful about how it is that you've talked publicly about the business parts of this relationship. But I have said, Ernie, that I believe that Charles Barkley is presently in a position to be the most coveted, lucrative free agent in the history of sports broadcasting if he actually wanted to exert his power over everything happening here. Do you agree or disagree with that assessment?
Well, he was the biggest free agent when he signed with us the first time. That's 20-something years ago. Because when he was out there and available and it looked like he was going to go to NBC, it was like, wow, good for NBC. That's really nice. And then he has this change of heart after dinner and drinks with the executives at TNT, and he's like, I'm going to go to them. And so obviously he was then and he would be now. But I think there's a bond that we share, the four of us, that's stronger than that. And I think that's why we're going to be together again next year.
Ernie, if the series did go 29 games, who do you think wins?
Well, I would
I mean, best two words in sports, game 29.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think your friends would be saying, hey, you know what? We really could be up 25-2 in this one.
Tied 14-all.
I want to know, Ernie, why it is with the evolution of basketball, as we've talked about LeBron and Steph all season, we do storylines. How difficult is it to explain to the American public that defense is about to win the championship, and instead of face of the league stuff, what you're going to have to do, even though they're going to make it about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the team that won the title is the one that per game had the fewest turnovers and created the most turnovers. It's not as exciting as just saying Anthony Edwards is the new face of the league, but OKC has been better than everybody for those reasons since the start of the season.
Oh, yeah, all season long they've been that, and that's been their calling card. We're not going to turn it over. We're going to make you do it, and we're going to take advantage of all those opportunities. And they play a very exciting brand of ball to me. It's not like you're watching a team that's, going to win games 83-81, 1985 style. This is a team that gets up and down, has a dynamic player in SGA and another, rising superstar in Jalen Williams, and a very thin guy who can really play in Chet Holmgren. So and they have my doppelganger, Alex Caruso, who causes havoc all over the floor. And we refer to him as my son, by the way, and he knows that. We've talked about
a terrible insult, not the son part, but your doppelganger to a professional athlete.
Also pesky.
Yeah, exactly. Or I'm his doppelganger. But it's like the other night he had a big game and we had him on the show, and I said, "Hey, that was very impressive. I'm raising your allowance." But I think no, this is it's a really good team. And again, when you hear, "Hey, defense carries them," there they are. There we are. When defense carries them, it's not like, "Oh man, you're going to see this is going to be a pitcher's duel. It's going to be nothing going to the ninth." They can score, and they create havoc, and it's kind of, it's like those Louisville teams in college basketball or the Arkansas teams that would press you all over the floor and pick you up. And see, if it's Indiana likes to play that way too. Kenny Atkinson said it. He said they're like a college team. You're inbound on the ball and they're pressuring you. So that's what's made Indiana as fun to watch, I think, as they have been, because they never stop and it's up and down the floor. So I wouldn't get carried away saying, "Hey, this is a team that hangs its head on defense. They're not fun to watch." OKC is.
Ernie, if it's a OKC-Indiana final, though, is that a tough national sell, do you think, in terms of TV ratings? Because a lot of people just look at two smaller markets, two teams that don't have a real pedigree of championships.
Yeah, it might. Yeah, I mean, Greg, you're probably right. That's probably, in the TV executive's view, probably not the most attractive matchup of all time, but it's certainly one that we've seen coming on the OKC side. Everybody expects and say, "Hey, are they ready to take that next step and be in the finals?" Indiana has been the surprise, and so look, I don't worry about that stuff. Is it a tough sell? I know basketball fans want to watch. You're not going to watch all year just to turn it off when the finals start because it's not a New York team or it's not an LA team. If you're a basketball fan, you're going to watch. But if you're on the fringe, that might be a little tough.
I have a curiosity here as a last question that I need to ask Tony about, because Ernie Johnson is the rarest of things in sports broadcasting. I don't believe anybody listening to this could come up with something he has said or done in the entirety of his career that a sports fan would say, "I'm disgusted with Ernie Johnson. He did this or he said that." But Tony in the other room showed profound disgust while Ernie was talking, and I need to know what it was about, because Ernie said something that really bothered you. What was it?
Ernie, and it's no offense to you, Ernie. You said something that really struck with me, which is Indiana's like a college team, and I think that's what I hate about them. Right? I love watching college basketball during March Madness for the madness, but if you're going to bring me a college basketball team that's going to pick up 94 feet from the hoop, TJ McConnell's going to be there slapping the floor, playing defense, doing these moves, and then getting the little jumper that he does, the 12 feet where he does a hop step, and it's like everything is perfectly done. Everything is great. He's always in the right spot. He's always doing the right thing. I hate that. I don't like that. Give me stuff that's crazy. I don't want to see the perfection of TJ McConnell. I want to see what's going on in OKC. I want to see what's going on in Minnesota, in New York. Please, God, get the New York Knicks to the NBA Finals.
I feel great shame for having quoted Kenny Atkinson's description of the Indiana Pacers.
Well, it struck with
it's not
all
you.
of us.
I said no offense, respectfully. It was just
and believe me, Tony, none taken at all. I mean, I was throwing a quote out there that I had read the other day from Kenny Atkinson. But so what's your issue with TJ McConnell?
he's always so perfect.
Pesky.
And Ernie, like he's the best basketball player ever. He just always does the right thing. And it's like, I'm tired of that. I don't want him to do the right thing all the time.
Okay. All right. Well, God, I wish I had an answer to that, but I have I'm absolutely
Good.
still.
We've made him speechless. He's a known jerk. He's Ernie Johnson. He says
You're
things
talking about Tony.
that upset people.
Respectfully, I said
Yeah,
respectfully.
you did say respectfully. Ernie, good seeing you. Thank you, as always, for making the time for us, sir.
No, it's always my pleasure. You all have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernie.
It is so rare. I cannot tell you. Oh, I forgot to ask him whether Draymond Green wore all that green because his last name is Green. I think that's why he did that. Is he still there? Can he answer
I don't
that?
know if that's why he. I don't know if that's why he wore green. Every time they do that, hey, that's money green. When I wear green, it's just like, no, this is just happens to be green.
Ernie, you agree he leads the NBA in irrational confidence, right? Like, put Draymond on the Wizards, and he's no longer in the NBA.
Oh my
Oh,
God!
stop. You just couldn't help
what
yourself.
happened? What
you just
happened there?
Stugotz.
What do
You just couldn't. You just couldn't help yourself. You just couldn't. Please mute his mic. Put him on mute for a moment.
But I'm right.
Please. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ernie. I wish that spiritual, decent man had just Ernie Johnson had said, Stugotz, you're always an and just said goodbye and gone. Like, why? Like, honestly, it's so disrespectful about how good Draymond Green is at a thing.
I mean, do it without Steph.
Do what? Play great defense?
You should have turned it around. Or you dress like a dick because of your last name?
He had to have worn all of the green because his name is Draymond Green. Why would anyone go into their closet and select a bunch of green?
I think this is an overthink. It's
I like
just
green's a nice color.
it's one of the available colors.
It is. It may be an overthink. I'm glad you guys were so spirited in your rebuttal to that can't be why Draymond Green would do that. And
Look, there were only two options for us to go. And I'm
still
staunchly,
here.
very staunchly, just coincidence.
so Ernie, was it an overthink? You are still there, and since you're
Hey,
still
Dan.
there, yeah.
Dan, responding to what you just said, I would like to address Stugotz.
Oh, well.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Stugotz,
Yes.
you are always a pleasure to talk to.
Oh, no!
Thank you, EJ.
Good night,
I was going to
everybody.
say, we're always dressed like a wiener.
Get out of here. What a jerk this Ernie Johnson is. Always a jerk.
My guy.
Will never be anything but a jerk. Everyone knows him to be a jerk. He will have that reputation eternally. I hope he continues to just sit there and continue to chime in.
I do have
remainder
something for
of the
Ernie to
show.
chime in on, Dan. I see that his bed has the tuck on the bottom. Ernie, you're a tuck on the bottom guy. You don't ask him
The
to, hey,
place I'm
untuck it for me.
staying. The place I'm staying is a tuck at the bottom place, I guess.
Oh,
I
wow.
haven't touched that. So yeah, it's always weird when you're doing this from a hotel room because you never know what's in the background. But this looks pretty safe.
Hey,
Anyway,
Ernie, could you refer to me as kid like you did for Roy?
happy to do it, kid.
Thank you.
Ernie, is there such a thing as a quiet 39 points, the way Carlisle said Siakam had a quiet 39 the other night?
Yeah, it wasn't really quiet, but no, it's interesting. I mean, no, it wasn't quiet. It was loud and clear. Just ask Stu's friends.
See you later, Ernie. We have
Dan,
no
I have
more
one more thing for
questions.
Ernie.
Okay,
Sorry.
go ahead
yeah.
and ask.
One
Go ahead.
more thing.
Ernie,
Hold
your
on,
favorite
hold on.
shoes
Hold
to
on.
bring out on a suit. You got a lot of shoes. You had some Jumpman jacks the other day.
Yeah.
What's your favorite shoe to put on a suit?
11s.
Attaboy.
There you go.
Good.
Oh, and shout out my buddy Tony Bollier, who's an assistant coach for Butler Bulldogs, for the swag he gave me at breakfast yesterday. And that's all I've got. I had blocked out 3 hours, but I guess apparently.
All right.
We're
That's
almost
fine.
done.
See you later. I expect to hear you about 9 minutes from now. I expect you to just pop up without.
Oh, wait, I actually have a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Go
About,
ahead.
about 11 years ago, were you also like, that's probably one too many Franklin and Bash promos?
You had to be thinking it.
Like, really, again with the Franklin and Bash.
Ernie?
I'm lost.
See you later, Ernie. Good talking to you. But do you believe that Richard Jefferson was right the other night after Game 2, before
You
Game?
keep saying we're done, and then you keep.
What about Rizzoli and Isles? Were you like, is this a spinoff? Is this a different firm? Surely I can't be promoting it as much.
Is Richard Jefferson allowed to say before Game 3 of OKC, Minnesota, both teams are literally playing for their lives?
I didn't realize the stakes were that high.
Yeah.
I know playoffs are important, but if we get to that point, it's going to be gladiator kind of stuff.
Over under 10,000 times you've woken up and your TV has been on Charmed.
Under.
It's supernatural now.
See you later, Ernie. I look forward again to hearing from you in 10 minutes as the close to this segment.